The streak is over. The Charlotte Hornets beat the Philadelphia 76ers after a 16-game losing streak. Now the only question is, as Doug Branson posed it, are the Hornets elite? We talk about it today on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Local experts on the #1 daily sports podcast network.
Hornets.
Thanks for making Locked On Hornets your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. That includes YouTube. We're past 600 subscribers. We are growing, and we are growing very fast, and we appreciate every one of you for watching and subscribing. You can follow us on Twitter at Walker Mail, Doug on Twitter at Doug Branson LOH. Sometimes he's capable of saying things more than just the word Hornets. You can find the show handle on Twitter at Locked On Hornets. Who just ended their 76ers losing streak, Doug?
Hornets.
Who's elite in the Eastern Conference?
Hornets.
Who do you feel great about right now?
Doug Branson. Also the Hornets?
Okay, yeah, that's right. It's the Charlotte Hornets, who are now 7-3 in their last 10 games. They just ended what was a brutal streak against Philadelphia. Miles Bridges having not ever gotten a win against Joel Embiid. P.J. Washington. LaMelo Ball was in high school the last time that the Hornets beat Philadelphia. And here we are celebrating not only just that victory, but it's coming off of what was a 2-game winning streak against Milwaukee, the best team in the Eastern Conference. Giannis played. Joel Embiid played. Where did they start all of these winning ways? It was against Denver when Nikola Jokic was also on the floor. 3 MVP-type candidates. Really like the worst matchups ever for the Charlotte Hornets. They're getting victories over these teams. It does go to show you a couple of things. One, when they buy in defensively and just show you good old-fashioned effort, they're capable of playing a lot better on that end of the floor. And as James Borrego said during post-game availability, this is a choice. He says to his team, like, you guys are choosing to win these games, and it's working because of your choice to defend on the other end. P.J. Washington helps. The guard play is a lot better right now. Cody, Jalen, all of these guys buying in on that end of the floor, and you beat good teams because of it. I mean, Doug, I feel great about this team right now, and I think it's okay after a long time to try to figure out when is that time to maybe take that next step. It seems like they're turning a corner, having beaten a few of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah, and I think I'm ready to declare that this is the best stretch of Hornets basketball we've seen all season, and maybe
How far are you going back?
I don't know. Probably, I mean, certainly to the last playoff team that we saw, the 15-16.
Yeah.
But so the difference between this stretch and even the stretch that they had early in the season when they won 5 in a row against Memphis, New York, Golden State, Washington, when Washington was on top of the East and Indiana, the difference is that it is a choice because this isn't a case, these last 3 games, the 2 against Milwaukee and this win over Philadelphia, these aren't games where they've suddenly got on a hot streak shooting-wise or the other team is just playing miserably offensively. These have been balanced games for the most part. And they've been tough games. They've been games that have required the Hornets to stay engaged defensively every stretch of the way. They've really exchanged hot three-point shooting that they've had all season. They've exchanged that for defense because they haven't been shooting the ball really excellently, and they've had to force the ball inside and make tough plays, get fouled, even though they only got, I think, 8 free throws, and those are ridiculous. I mean, some of these games and how they're officiated, it's enraging to me, especially Miles Bridges. I don't know how Miles Bridges did not pick up a technical in that game. I mean, God love him.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, it was crazy.
Was
some of the fouls that he was getting called for versus the fouls that he was not getting called on himself. It was nuts.
Mason Plumlee, too, by the way. Like, he went at the official 1 or 2 times.
Yeah, but anyway, so I do agree that this is a choice. The Hornets have chosen, all right, we're going to play defense. We're going to score on all 3 levels. And it has been a balanced scoring attack. I mean, you saw Gordon obviously take over game, 13 of 16 from the field, 30 points, started out, 10 of 10? I mean, just insanity. 30 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. Miles Bridges was doing a lot. Terry Rozier, 10 of 18 from the field. LaMelo was facilitating, making things happen. He was giving you the rebounding that he's always going to give you, even though he was struggling from the field. Cody Martin, McDaniels off the bench. P.J. Washington, again, just a Herculean effort defensively. Guy can play with 5 fouls better than most guys can play with no fouls. It's crazy.
And look, I know we've become almost the P.J. Washington show the last couple of times, but he's playing so well defensively.
He's demanding it. He's demanding it.
He's coming up with stops, Doug. Not, you can only hope to contain these guys. Like, look, okay, over the course of a game, that's absolutely true. Joel Embiid still scored over 30. Giannis had 40 and 27 in the couple of games that he played. Clearly, over the course of a game, nobody's stopping him, and you are kind of living by that cliche. You can only hope to contain them. But in clutch time situations, PJ has been huge in coming up with just outright stops, turning over an Embiid, making him miss shots, turning over Giannis. Like, that's huge with what PJ's been able to do. And this is my point about the Charlotte Hornets and why I feel so good about him. Doug, the last couple of years where James Borrego has been the head coach, they have the one season with Kemba Walker. I don't want to say half-heartedly going after a postseason spot, but we didn't know it was going to come of that because the free agent year was on the horizon. He gets the All-NBA selection. That throws things out of whack, and we're just not exactly sure what the future is going to look like. In the end, it's a rebuild. James Borrego starts all of that his second season. So the last couple of years, we've been tinkering with guys' roles. Can Miles Bridges and P.J. Washington play with one another, or are they just kind of redundant? Is PJ a guy that we should explore having the basketball in his hands a little more, putting it on the floor, trying to create for himself? Miles Bridges, same thing. Or should we just kind of keep him sometimes posting up? Can he shoot these threes? Can he shoot off of the dribble? Terry Rozier, is he somebody that should just be a perimeter shooter? We've been trying to play with these roles, figuring out who does what well, and is there more on their game to expand? Now, we're starting to figure out and pretty much so in concrete, what these guys can do well, and it's helping them win ball games. LaMelo, he's the one that can do it all, right? Like, he's the guy that, facilitated a high level. He is the at least potential superstar that is the key to unlocking this franchise to new heights they've never seen before. LaMelo is the key. There's no denying that. But now, Gordon Hayward, can he be consistently a go-to guy half court? Because he hadn't been this year. Miles Bridges, can he do that same sort of thing? P.J. Washington, play good defense, hit 40% from 3, make the right pass, and give me 10 points a game. Cool. Cody Martin, Jalen McDaniels, come in off the bench, play great defense, hit shots from the perimeter, cut to the baseline. Kelly Oubre, be a bucket getter off of. Like, these guys have bought into specific roles where they can only have to focus on something individually they do well, and it allows this team to prosper. Like, that's why I feel so good about this Hornets team compared to years past.
I just feel good because they're playing defense. Over the past 8 games, they are they're a top 10 defense. And that's with the blowout. That's including the blowout that they suffered at the hands of the Phoenix Suns and gave up 133 points. I repeat, over the past 8 games where they've won 6 of these bad boys, over the past 9 games where they've won 7, they are the 8th best defense in the NBA. I mean, that is insanity when you think about how they've played defense over the course of this entire season. It's even crazier, these 3 wins, when you think that 2 of them have been games where they've struggled to shoot from outside, and they've been missing one of their best outside shooters this season in Kelly Oubre. Mm-hmm. I mean, this team has so much more growth potential between now and when they enter the playoffs. They're dangerous right now. They could get even more dangerous, and we have the trade deadline looming where they could possibly upgrade this roster even more.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Mitch Kupchak plays this, because he talked about this last year. They were in the 4 seed when everybody was healthy, and he told you after the season, it was tough to keep myself in check. This is the reality of our team. I'm not going to fall for the mirage and say we're going to even compete in a playoff series. That's why I'm going to try to make a move. He said it was really hard to keep himself grounded during that time. Now that you've taken another step, now that you're above 500 at the midway point in the season, 23-19, beating the Bucks, beating Philadelphia, how much grounding is there to be had? Is this the time to be okay with, we're going to make a move? Or do you just roll with this squad because they're playing so well? Like, it's, Like, it's going to be tough. It's a tough decision, but you know what? It's a good problem to have, as they say sometimes, with this Charlotte Hornets team trying to figure out the right buttons to push. Julian Council going to be joining us in just a moment. Locked On Panthers, he's the host of that show here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Season is over and done with. Saw him tweeting about the Hornets last night. He's ready to talk about some Queen City hoops, and so we'll get him on in just a moment. I want to talk to you about Prize Picks because they've got the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. They offer more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator, and they offer all the superstar players as well as the bench players, only recording a handful of minutes each game. Prize Picks offers any prop you can think of, too, from points, assists, rebounds, threes made, etc. And you can pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. It's just you versus the projected numbers. Go to prizepicks.com today or go to your app store and download the app. All users that deposit and use promo code NBA will get $50 free if your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point. That's right. All users that deposit and use promo code NBA will get $50 free if your first Prize Picks entry scores a single individual point. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Julian Council, he joins the fun. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.